Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans? Worlds Collide back again. We made it another week, and we've got something new. Hopefully, by the time on post-editing that you're hearing this, I was able to add in a cool sound effect or something. But this is the top three. One, two, three.
Top three.
That's what happens. Yep, we've got a new segment, and you're going to start, we've done This Is Your Card. We've done, After Dark. But this is going to be something new. We're going to try the top three. We're going to and the reason why we're not doing top 5 or top 10, because you got to get the 1, 2, 3 to win in this business, Daddy.
That's right. That's the only way the title changes hands.
I had to get the daddy in there because it always cracked me up in the 80s when people say that, especially Bill Dundee with his Australian accent in the 80s. Like,
Come old daddy.
Yeah, exactly. So today we're going to do the top 3 best signatures. And for me, this is I've got 2 characteristics that I'm going to put in this. I'm not saying the best as far as Hulk Hogan is better than Randy Orton. That's not what we're discussing. For me, and Tony, you can lay your groundwork for your choices. Mm-hmm. But it was the consistency of the autos. So every single time you see the autograph from 20 years ago to now, what it looks like on a sticker, what it looks like on card, the consistency of how it looks, and then the style and the flair, meaning when I see an autograph, it's not just I'll pick on Dean Ambrose, it's not just a DA. Mm-hmm. It's maybe, if they did something like RVD where he kind of puts a little bit of an artistic flair to it. Or when you see some of these other people that it almost, you can't tell who the signature is, but you know who it is based on the style. If that makes sense. So, what are your characteristics from that kind of come to mind when you're thinking who has the top 3 signatures?
I mean, those are obvious, clear choices of what I would look at to be considered as part of my top 3. Obviously, things that are aesthetically pleasing to me from the eyes like that, things that are identifiable. Like I could look at somebody and go, that guy is just like, I always know. That's just how they sign or how she signs. Yeah, all those reasons. It's just their style. It's very unique to them. I have my list. You have your list, kind of thing, and we have our reasons why we like these ones. And again, these are not this is not based on values, not based on things like that. This is based on just what looks the nicest to us. Mm-hmm. This is our top 3.
And I don't know about you, but I did not put mine in any order either. It's just my favorite 3 that came to mind. I'll start with an honorable mention, and that is all Japanese autographs because of the style. I just look at it. I don't even know who the wrestler is. I can't read it half the time. And I'm like, man, as you said, aesthetically pleasing. These autographs are amazing. And half the time they're in kanji, or they do a inscription in English, but the rest of it's in, their name in Japanese. It's just all different kinds of craziness.
It's across the board too on this too. It's across the board, and for both male and female. Yes. They seem to, I don't know what it is about that. It's a cultural thing maybe. I don't know, but you're right. There's the Japanese wrestlers and some of those Japanese wrestling cards that come out. It just seems like they just take their time with all this stuff. That's another thing that's going to be an ongoing theme for us, is having people taking their times and knocking things out. Because I've got stories about that as well. Having sat down with someone that's talent, signing things for companies. It's been weird. So.
Yeah, and that's something actually we'll talk about after the top 3 that will kind of correlate into that. But I got my honorable mention, so you go ahead with your first one.
My first one, by far, to me, been consistent throughout the years, has been Bret the Hitman Hart. Again, these are not number 1, number 2, number 3. They're just 3 we're picking out that we find that are best. And I say Bret Hart, I'll be like, I always love that he puts the dots. And some people surprisingly don't understand what the dots represent. Mm-hmm. The 4 dots represent his 4 kids. So it's why it's on his tights, on his boots. You'll always see 4 hearts, 4 dots. Something that has 4, it's all represents his kids. But Bret Hart has always been very consistent. He's signed a ton over the years. He's super fan friendly. very much into fans love him. They come out to him all the time. That guy consistently hits the same markets over and over and over again. Still draws incredible lines. Still takes his time with every single signature he puts on out, whether it be on cards, figures, paper, books, whatever. It's the same, and it's awesome. You always know a Bret Hart signature.
Yep.
The second, there's no question who it is.
Yep. And that he actually kind of like just missed my list. I had to dwindle it down to not even necessarily a fandom perspective, but just name talent aside, focusing and rarity, of course, focusing on the actual signature and how what I think it looks like. And Bret was up there, but I passed by this next guy, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And if you want to go back to his old school days where he put the little devil tail on a lot of the autographs, or if you want to look to the more modern stuff where it truly is, I think his signature truly is a work of art. Like, I can't even tell that it says Undertaker, but when I see it, I'm like, that's The Undertaker. And man, does it look cool. Like, it's just, his signature has become an official piece of art. I don't care if it's sticker, on card, doesn't matter. But you got the, he did change the autograph over time, and I think both times it's been really cool. So,
yeah. Well, speaking, you're talking about changing autographs over time. I'm sure, I don't know if you ever heard the story about an actor who purposely changed his autograph so that he knew what era autographs came from. That makes sense.
Yep.
Will Smith. Yep. Will Smith would sign his stuff. In the beginning, he always there was a decade where he'd sign Fresh Prince. There was a decade where he would sign, just Will Smith. There's a decade he signed. So he always knew what decade these autographs came from based on what he saw on eBay or whatever kind of thing. So I always thought that was kind of cool. But Undertaker, no question. I mean, it's the best doctor signature I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good way to put it. Doctor signature. All right, you're up next.
For me, I got Bruno Sammartino. I've always liked Bruno's. Again, it's just a name that I see it, I recognize it immediately. There's always, not only does he have a very unique looking signature to me that's very specific to him and stands out, and it's really him, he always took the time to place it someplace on either your photo. I mean, obviously, if you're talking about a card, there's one place he has to sign it. It's a sticker, it's one place to sign it. But even talking about on an action figure or in a book or on an 8x10, he was very conscious of I'm not going to sign across my face or across my chest or I mean, I'm sure there's probably some that were done that way, but for the most part, he would take the time to put it off to the side so it didn't obstruct from the actual image of him, whether it be with a title belt or something, an action shot. It just stood out. It's just very, there's no BS for Bruno Sammartino. It's just Bruno Sammartino, and
you can actually read it too.
You can read it. It's I can almost pinpoint every single letter in it, almost. But as he got older, the signature got a little bit, less pretty. I would say it's still.
You can still tell though. That goes back to what you said. Is you could look at it and you could say, well, maybe this doesn't look like, you already know it's Bruno because of how it looks, but it might not be what it looked like 20 years ago, but you still know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as clean, but, maybe a little shaky in the B and the S and so like that. But it still was Bruno's name. It was just Bruno, and it flowed to me. It's like that. So it's just, to me, it's a legendary signature.
100% agree. And that, not signing across your face, that actually, we'll talk about that in a minute when we compare some of the older autographs with the newer talent. My next one was Sting. And I know it's a basic signature, Sting. It's a really short thing. But again, it's a consistency, has a little bit of flair with the looping that he puts on the S's and the G's sometimes. And I've always, he's actually, from what I've seen, he'll just sign wherever. He'll sign across him, which is, for the veterans is a little bit different. But Sting's autograph is always consistent no matter where I see it. It varies a little bit occasionally, but it's got enough flair. It's got enough consistency. That's why I put it on there.
Yeah. So my last one is also one we both share.
Yeah. So I don't know if it means it's the best for last or what, but
but an honorable mention I want to throw in here. I don't know if you have one you want to put an honorable mention. Well, you did. You're Japanese. My honorable mention is going to be Jake the Snake as well. Just because especially not so much nowadays. Well, maybe it's not true because I did have him sign recently that Wrestling All Stars, and he still likes to put that snake looking in the S name, so which I always thought was very, very fitting and nice. So that he didn't just dial it in and just put a regular S like that. He always took the time, and I don't know if it's even taken the time. Maybe he's so conditioned, some of these guys with their signatures, why they're so consistent is because they're just like, this is what I do. It's how I've done it all. Why change it up? Like anything else,
Yeah.
maybe takes longer. I don't know. But Jake the Snake is an honorable mention for me on that one as well. But one that we both share that I think a lot of people like is Jerry the King Lawler.
Yep.
There's just something about. I mean, one, maybe it's a lot about being an artist.
I think so.
Which kind of plays into my Loomis one too. I mean, Loomis is very unique in itself because he also is an artist. But Jerry King Lawler, with the career he's had, 50 years in the business plus, and that signature just hasn't changed ever. And it's always so fluid, so beautiful. 100% can read every letter in the name in a beautiful looking signature. It's just, you always know you're getting a Jerry King Lawler autograph. It's just a beautiful signature.
Yep. No matter if it's on an All Stars card or a modern Panini sticker release, like it's just been consistent across the board. And he seems to sign for anybody, anywhere. Like I know I think he does some TTM stuff still, and obviously he's signing at conventions or at matches. And the fact that this is kind of where I want to transition here, because we had the same thing for the last one. Let's talk about the veterans and how they sign, because if you take a minute, outside of maybe the Japanese wrestlers, everybody we mentioned is a veteran. And a lot of the complaints that we see are for more modern. Mm-hmm. So I'll take a second to talk about the difference in the signatures between veterans and the more modern. Now, the first kind of maybe argument I want to say that people may have, I don't have this because I don't think so, is, well, these modern guys, they get ushered into the room at Topps or Panini. They get, 1,000 cards put in front of them and they say, sign it, like it's almost like factory work. Mm-hmm. And so they're just trying to get through it as quick as possible. And they don't care. But my flip side to that is, well, yeah, you know what? These veterans that go to WrestleCon or any of these conventions, they've got line. I mean, you said it yourself, Kurt Angle, people lined up around the building to get his signature. He has to take time to sign with every one of those. And he's not just flying through it like these modern people with it put in front of them. In fact, if you look at a lot of the Panini releases, they had sticker autos from legends that had to sit there and sign every one of these hundreds of stickers. And they still look 100 times better than what a lot of these modern, the DA, the BS, or whatever.
Yep. I agree. 100%. But it's not every veteran signs that way, obviously. I mean, there's a story of I remember years ago walking into the old RVD comic book store when it was at the Lakewood Mall, and they brought in Dusty Rhodes. And that's how I got that case of, books that I have signed by Dusty. And, unfortunately, it's an LA market. Dusty, for whatever reason, just didn't draw well in LA. I think 25 people showed up for his signature.
Oh,
had that event been in the South, I mean, the line would have been forever. But he was there, and I did mention that about that TNA card. Like, why is it so common to find that this, DR, 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 DR? And he said, I tell you something. I'm not going to do it. I'm not even doing an impression. I'm not.
I got really excited.
I'm not Papa Bear. I'm not doing impressions, man. He just said, you know what? I signed a few with my name, and I got lazy. He just admitted, I got lazy. I got tired of it. They had me sign so many. I just got tired of it. So I just became like. So there's a premium price to find a full Dusty Rhodes autograph on that card. But but you're right. There's also a pay scale issue as well. A lot of times guys think that these guys are getting paid a lot of money to sign these cards. Or not. When you start talking like, I'm going to give you 3,000 stickers, that's 3,000 signatures, and you're getting paid like $3-4 a signature. That's, to you and me, that's like, okay, well, even $4 a signature times 3,000. That's good money. But it's also time consuming. Your hand gets cramped up. I get the discomfort. Having to sit with some talent, like, I'll never forget sitting with Demolition, with Barry and Bill, and Barry just sitting there, signing. He's being paid to sign for a time frame, 90 minutes of just signing. And this particular person is just throwing as much merch in front of him as possible. Sign. It's just never ending. I mean, and I remember going there, like, Tony, I can't feel my arm anymore, man. It's like, and so I get it. And it's like, dude, it's just like, he's got Axe and you've got, Smash. It's not that hard. I mean, but it's just, I get that aspect of it, but I still think the veterans still have like this mentality of, of giving something to the fans more than maybe more modern people does. I don't know.
That was going to be my question. Is I feel like if you go to these conventions, and I could be wrong, or if you see them in public or whatever, or social media even, I feel like the veterans seem to appreciate fans more, whether it's having fun, joking around, talking about their favorite moment, what signatures, whatever it is. They seem to be a little bit more attached to the fans that way, as opposed to the modern. It seems like, get away from me, I gotta go do this or do that.
Well, there's a difference in that mindset as well too, because I had talked with talent for such a long time ago. I mean, even back when my days of working with RVD, if you've never noticed, he's got two different kinds of signatures for him.
Yeah.
And I've advised this to every client I ever work with. You need to have two kinds of signatures, because when you go to a convention and you meet talent to sign something for you, and I'm paying that kind of money, that fan deserves the full signature. They deserve the Rob, Van, Dam, with maybe a star, 5 and a star. But when someone's bothering you at dinner or sees you at the airport, something like that, that's why you have the RVD.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're controlling as a talent, you're controlling your value, because one, you've earned that right to control your value. So you're going to have the paid one. So when you see your name up on eBay, like, oh, that's that RVD one. That was probably at an airport or someplace like that. That was a freebie one, because you never want to be a dick to your fans. So you got to give them something. So whether that be like, a CJ, or a Chris Jericho, you know which one you paid for, kind of thing. But I always tell people you have two signatures, but. So there's difference. If I pay for it, I expect to have a full signature. But this deal where it's just abbreviations, and in some cases we have just squiggle lines. I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. I mean, if you're getting paid, at least getting paid something, have some sort of decency of a signature on there when someone's paying money. So you got paid to sign, whether it be for pennies in the dollar or an exorbitant amount. But also the fan itself also paid to buy that product in hopes of getting something. They were like, wow, I'm a big Velveteen Dream fan. I want to have Velveteen Dream. And then all of a sudden I get this line that I could have done. It's kind of disheartening, it's like that. So, and that seems to be more the case with modern people too. I don't understand the mentality there. I wish I knew why that was. But
the only one I'll give a pass to is Vince McMahon, because that's how it's always been.
Not necessarily true either. It's gotten that way. It's morphed into that over the years, because you could find earlier stuff, even the stamp stuff of his actual signature, as a shareholder, I got that quarterly, booklet, or the annual booklet for every year, so like that would have his stamp signature inside of it. It was a Vince McMahon, it was squiggly, but still a V, blah, 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 and then an M, blah, 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 and now it's just like like this V line kind of thing. That's what it was, but early on it changed, and so most people's signatures, I think, over time have changed based on whatever reasons like that. But people in our top three, which is what this segment's about, these are consistently always good from as far back as I can remember to what I just got yesterday.
Yep, 100% agree. So we put the 3 count on the top 3 best wrestling signatures. Once
and
again,
that is 1, 2, 3. This shit is over.
We got winners. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 winners, and then honorable mentions, because
that's right.
We had the same for the Jerry the King Lawler. But and again, I would say preface, but we already did that. This is not talking about this is what you should invest in. This is what's worth the most. This is what you should buy, sell, trade. No, this is just from an aesthetic perspective, the actual signature. Stuff like this, I just don't think enough people in wrestling cards discuss the nuances of little things like this. It's all about what's it worth, what's it rare, blah blah blah.
Well, and with this segment, which I hope becomes, I think our plan is to make it some sort of an ongoing thing. I want to hear from other people too, because I'm assuming that a lot of people. I've just picked some names that I think most people would agree with. I'm picking names what I agree with and what I think is. So I'm interested in hearing what other people have to say. Like, I'm sure there's other great names. And I could have thrown Hacksaw Jim Duggan in here, another legend that's always got some good signatures too.
Yep.
We could have picked out any number of people that we thought was pleasing to us, from an eye appeal. So I'm sure as collectors out there listening or watching this, you probably have your own top 3. I want to hear your guys' top 3. Post things in the comments about what your top 3 are.
Absolutely. Engagement. We always preach about it. Reach out to us on social media, all social platforms. Again, you can find links in the show notes wherever you're listening to this to find out where you can find us. Share, spread the word. Let's get a good conversations going wherever you're,
Yeah.
whatever you want to talk about, whether it's, hey, I've got questions about this autograph. Is it legitimate or not? Hey, we might not have the answers, but we could maybe maybe we direct you to the talent and they say, yeah, I signed that this decade, but maybe not this more modern stuff. There's just all kinds of ways you can engage with us. Tony, let everybody know where they can find you before we get out of here.
WrestlingTradingCards.com, folks. All of our social media is found at the bottom of every single page. Click on any of them. Subscribe to anything. Follow everything. You know what's great? I always say that we always talk about subscribing, commenting, liking, sharing, all these different things. The beautiful thing about all that stuff, it's all free, folks.
Yep.
Free. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just trying to share as much as we can with as big as audience as we possibly can to educate as many as we can. So do it, man. Just do it. Do it.
And speaking of that, I'm going to take 1 second here before I plug my stuff and talk about something I've been getting a lot of questions about. People send me DMs and they'll say, why is the market down? Why is this card not worth this? Why is this card, why were base card complete sets this amount and now they're a fraction of that?
Welcome to the economy, folks.
It is economy, but it also has to do with collector base. And the more you share, the more you talk about your collection, the more you engage with the community of everything Tony just said, the more you do that, the more collectors we get. The more collectors we get, the more things, are collected within the broad stroke of wrestling cards. The more that happens, the more the floor raises on wrestling card prices. So if you want to see your cards potentially go up in value, you've got to talk about them. I don't care what you collect. I don't care what, if you hate us for some reason, this is your first time and you hate us, but you really like Caleb's Collecting with Caleb or Card Foundation. It doesn't matter. Just continue to talk about wrestling cards, spread the word, build the community, and start your own content creation, whether that's social media, blog format, YouTube, whatever it is, audio only. Just start doing something to continue to grow the pie of wrestling cards. That answers the question about, potentially why some wrestling card segments might not be as expensive as you think they are or should be. That being said, you can find me on all social platforms at Zhan Morning, Wrestling with Cards on YouTube, Wrestling with Cards, the podcast, of course, right here on Worlds Collide, the best wrestling card podcast in existence. I don't care what anyone else says.
I think you can go out there, anybody out there. I want someone out there to go and create a podcast that does nothing but review our podcast.
Ooh, that's a good one. Or, hey, what if somebody does a YouTube channel talking about autographs only? And they break down every wrestling autograph that they can potentially find and nitpick it and review it and give it 5 stars or give it 0 stars. And
there you go.
You can have fun with stuff like that. So
yeah, wrestling autograph review.
We just gave somebody a free business idea.
Just gave you a name. There you go.
There you go.
Make it happen. Make it happen, someone.
Make it happen because wrestling cards rule. We're out of here.
That's right. We're out.